So I'm outside John Lewis in Sheffield. I'm just going to do a quick tour around the retail area of Sheffield, and I'll start taking you down Cambridge Street because a lot of the work's now being done. Let you make your own mind up on it. So I'll take you up to Division Street up there. Some of the work being done looks quite good, but one of my biggest concerns is the actual rental cost for businesses. How are the businesses going to get the turnover in Sheffield to pay the rent that they are charged? So a lot of the audiences have been taken off, so you can get a better idea of what's going off around here. I think this was a pub. Can't quite see what it is anymore. Don't know if it was a sportsman or whatever, but somebody will correct me on that. Somebody will. If I remember rightly, I think this was the toy section of John Lewis. So that's been spruced up, as you can see, with the knot buildings out around the back. So it does look quite good, but my concern is rents and sustainability of businesses, because there's just not enough footfall in Sheffield. So this was actually Sunday school in 1852. Now the reason I didn't know what the other pub was, I never went in there, I always came in Emery's. So they've certainly refurbished it, they've knocked it out completely behind, but it does look very much like the old Emery's I went in, and it'd be great if it's a pub again. Pretty much get frequented by HSBC people there in Grosvenor House. I'll just give you another view back up Cambridge Street. You can see John Lewis looking a little bit tacky nowadays. There's a car park at the back, and they're putting a pocket park on top of that. So what I'll do is I'll just have a walk up this street here, because I want to show you back in the other direction, and be interested in your views on it. I call it the Rust Bucket. So we're approaching Pinston Street, the Peace Gardens. I think this is Garrett Street. That one's certainly Burgess Street down there. We'll find out in a minute what this is called. But we've got a Salvation Army building here, and I really hope they're going to actually put some TLC into this building. It's really got potential. So coming back up, and you can see a brown building above Emery's, which I call the Rust Bucket. Just behind it is Elshaw House. Now that's the first zero carbon building in Sheffield. Did a Freedom of Information request to the council on it, asking them how much energy was put into the building of the building versus how much energy will they save every year. And they can't answer the question. They say that's not what really a net zero building's about, or a carbon neutral building. Well, if you can't prove it, the amount of energy expended building the building, the amount of concrete they put into the foundations, etc., versus how much energy you'll save every year, I don't believe any arguments on it. I think it's just what I can't say on here. And you can guess what the word is. Bull. So I came across something called the Hippodrome, and I could never work out what the Hippodrome was. It was actually closed down in '63, a year before I was born, and I've just worked it out now. So we've got Grosvenor House here. Now Grosvenor House is the headquarters of HSBC in Sheffield, very small compared with Griffin House where I work for HSBC. It's about a quarter of the size, but this is where the Grosvenor House Hotel was. So when HSBC rebuilt it, they actually called it Grosvenor House. So actually in here was actually the Hippodrome, and I'll go to the point where I think the Hippodrome probably was. Now it actually held about 3,000 people, the Hippodrome. Also standing on top of that, they did reduce it down to about 2,500, but it must have been a tremendous venue. We've lost so many fantastic places in Sheffield. So this is a much better view of where Emery's was. So like I said, it's got the original fascia, but I think it's completely been ripped out from behind and rebuilt. There you can see Elshaw House, the dark colour building. And this is called the retail quarter of Sheffield, heart of the city too. I'm walking back down to Pinston Street. Now originally when we lost the actual Hippodrome, there was actually small free cinemas actually under the Grosvenor Hotel. I think they were called Cine Centres or Cineplex, whichever one it was. But the old Hippodrome was about here, as far as I know, about this point. So I've never known it in my lifetime. I couldn't understand why I never knew it, and it's because it was knocked down before, well, closed down before I was even born. So it was about that section there. So you can imagine Cambridge Street came down from there right down to here. Now there's it's actually Wellington. I don't know if this is now called Wellington Street or whether Wellington Street's on the other side, but that's the address for this Grosvenor House, for HSBC anyway. So I don't know if it's still called Cambridge Street or Wellington Street, this bit, or whether Wellington Street's round the back and that's why the address is Wellington Street. So we've got the new shop opened here, Sostring Green, and it's actually a Danish company, and it sells the low end stuff from like IKEA, and you get the same treatment. You've got to walk all the way around the shop to get one item. They need the footfall, whether they'll survive is another thing. I don't quite understand these stones. What's the significance of it? I don't know why we didn't get the mill wheels we've got all over Derbyshire that we used in Sheffield in the water mills. Why didn't we get loads of those actually out in our town centre? That's actually part of our history. But one of the strange things on here is, Mark Bannerman noticed it last week, they've got these like caps on them, and he said he thought it might be something to do with artwork. But it just seems a bit crazy that why would you put these caps in them more? I thought it was because they were resin made, but you'll see them on here as well. You see caps in each one, so seems a bit strange that. I don't know the significance of it. So this is going to be a 25-storey building. I just want to show you back onto Pinston Street. Some of the hoardings are now coming off. One of the things that concerns me is we're not getting local Sheffield names. I mean, where we've got Julia's Cosmetics, I think that's probably a local Sheffield company. Originally we had Sug Sports across Sheffield. Now we get things like JD Sports, don't we? We can start to now see them uncovering the frontages on some of this. So same again, they've kept the original frontage, then they smash it out from behind, pin the building onto scaffolding and then repin it back onto the new building that's behind it. One of the things is there anybody boiling at the moment? I've never seen so much rainfall actually in July. I think it wasn't as bad as this back in 2012. And it's something to do with the currents actually being under the UK rather than above it like they should be. The jet stream, it's actually under the UK and it should actually be above us in summer. So what I'll do is I'll get back down to the bottom and actually restart the video from there. So we're back down at Grosvenor House, and actually all this bottom floor is for retail. The units are gradually filling up, but I don't see many local Sheffield names in it, and I'd be interested to know what the rent is actually on these units at the bottom. I mean, you can just see how few people there are around here. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to take you up the side of Debenhams, which shut down in the second lockdown. That's going to be another mixed unit by the looks of it. I mean, we really don't need more food stores in Sheffield because they're not really succeeding. Down at the Light Cinema, I think there's only about 25% of the food units actually open in the Light Cinema. I think the idea was to get people down there to actually eat in the food outlets when they went to the cinema. So you've got to think, students, yeah, they don't have a mortgage etc, but most of them will be lucky to be earning 20 hours a week, and then they've got high debts against themselves. So some more of these stones, I think it'd have been far better for something that was more appropriate to Sheffield's history. And same again, they've got these small caps on them again. Whatever the caps are for, I don't see that as art. So we're around the back of Debenhams, looking very tacky. Now there's a pocket park just there, a musical pocket park, and just behind it the Light Cinema. Light Cinema's very good, even though it's only like 100 seat cinemas. It's got a really big screen in there, really comfortable cinemas. So with the back end of Grosvenor House, and people will probably remember the Grosvenor Hotel, the cinemas underneath, ITV studio as well. I used to get famous people staying here as well. So I'll have a walk up here as well, just to give you a better idea of this area. But rather than doing all this, like, I would have rather seen them tidy up generally Sheffield city centre, just tidy it up. And I just think these sorts of units, they're just going to be high-end rental without the actual foot traffic. So you can see Elshore House, they're gradually putting glass all over it. The energy that's gone into the production of this net zero building that the council can't prove one way or the other. So just trying to give you a bit of an idea around the back end. This is all the actual retail sector that they're redeveloping, rather than actually getting life back into the A market area. There's another building I think is going here. Elshore House up there, back of Grosvenor House. But you see the lack of people. So this is a Kangaroo Works up here, more student type flats. Really sad that it had really great doorways on the Kangaroo Works, and I would have liked to have seen them reincorporated into a modern building. It's just another box to me. But I just want to show you one more thing down here, and then that's probably the retail sector over. Just showing you what I can show you at the moment. So Kangaroo Works up there. This is another pocket park. I think it cost £5.5 million. That was more car parking gone. You can see Trafalgar Warehouse down there. I think that's a entertainment type venue down there. No issue with that, I like that type of building. Take you back up towards Division Street. But just here was supposed to be the tallest building in Sheffield, or one of the tallest buildings, and it was going to be Code Sheffield, and it's not come very far. I'll just show you the pile drivers they've put in. So I think it's going to be something like 34 stories or something like that. I think it would have been taller than the tallest building in Leeds, but it's certainly not happening. All you've got is waste ground. I think they keep changing the plans on it, but you can see the pile drivers in down there. You see Kangaroo Works up there, but all this area is just mainly student flats. Used to be very industrial, this area, and it's just so soul destroying to just see the industry being ripped out of Sheffield one bit at a time, and all we're ending up is with globalist type companies in Sheffield. So that's it, just a quick view on how far we've come on the retail area of Sheffield, and let you make your own mind up on it.